604, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are starting off your Tuesday morning at 47 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. Back in the friendly confines of the studios here at Guarantee Media. Oh, man, what an unbelievable event yesterday for the Dreams Come True golf tournament. Thanks again to the folks at Dreams Come True. Thanks to Becky and her team for having us out there yesterday. That was fantastic. Once the sun got up and things got pretty, it was just off and running for a fantastic day from start to finish. So always appreciate them. Always appreciate the opportunity to work with them as they do. They do the Lord's work here on earth, and it is fantastic. We have got a big show lined up for you today. I will be giving you the rundown in just a minute. But first, let's start off with top stories and trending.
Number 5.
A Baton Rouge police officer whose name has not been disclosed has been placed on administrative leave after they were involved in a fiery crash while driving an unmarked police car off duty. WBRZ's investigative unit learned the wreck happened along Zachary Slaughter Highway near Church Street on Sunday night. Both drivers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The Zachary Police Department is investigating the crash.
Number 4.
East Baton Rouge Parish firefighters are now able to use large fire blankets designed to suffocate electric vehicle fires in a matter of seconds. The blankets were unveiled at a press conference yesterday. They're similar to the ones that firefighters were seen using to extinguish the Cybertruck fire outside of Trump Tower in Vegas on New Year's Day. They're made specifically for the EVs.
Number 3.
The potential developer of LSU's new $400 million arena is expected to submit its development plans to the LSU Board of Supervisors and the Louisiana Board of Regents for approval within 60 days. I'm grabbing this story from the Daily Report, who's grabbing it from attorney Charles Landry, who has been hired to work with the university on the project.
Number 2.
Metro Councilman Anthony Kenny looks like he's going to be hosting a community meeting, grabbing this from WBRZ. District 2 Metro Councilman Anthony Kenny hosted a community listening tour at the Jewel J. Newman Community Center in Baton Rouge on Monday. Kenny said the opportunity for the listening tour gives residents a chance to share their concerns and ideas for the future. Various stations for broad topics like infrastructure, safety, education, and environment. Residents wrote notes of problems in their neighborhoods, like more grocery stores, better street lighting, more police near schools, and more. Kenny says the goal is to establish faith in the Metro Council.
Number 1.
As it stands right now, and I'm doing my best to sift through this, Attorney General Liz Myrtle says Jesse Hoffman will be executed tonight. That being said, his attorneys have been filing numerous last-minute challenges in the hopes of a stay, everything from refiling decade-old motions to claiming that the execution could negatively impact his reincarnation as a practicing Buddhist.
All right, so starting off with the shark alligator rule.
No! Well,
What?
yeah, we'll get there. I got to ask, though.
What?
I don't mean to make light of it, but if you could be reincarnated as something, it's like you had your choice. Like you did your proper Buddhist breathing exercises. What do you want to come back as?
What would I want to come back as?
Yes.
Me personally?
Yes.
And it could be anything?
Yeah.
Man, I'm really going to have to sit on that for a second.
All right.
Man. What about you? Do you have anything in mind?
Mike
Maybe
the
like,
Tiger.
Yeah, I was thinking an animal, something like that.
People watching all day long, getting fed red meat.
You got it made, right?
Yeah. I would make a push to get myself back in the stadium so I could watch the games.
Yeah.
You know? Because you're right outside the stadium. You can hear the game, but you can't see it. Which I guess in some forms of life, that's your version of hell.
Oh man.
But if you could get back in the stadium, I mean, that's a hell of a diet. You got great doctors. Just take a swim when you want to.
Right. I mean, you seem like you would have it made, right? Hey, do you remember the Dane Cook joke about reincarnation?
I do not.
You don't?
No.
We can talk about it off air or to the Facebook. It's really good. It's not anything
teasing the Facebook Live audience. I like it.
It's good. I like it.
Shark alligator rule.
So starting off with the shark alligator rule, of course, as I mentioned, Gator County Alligator Park in Nacogdoches. What?
Is that
Natchitoches?
Natchitoches. This side of the state line, not Texas. Not Nacogdoches, Texas. Natchitoches, Louisiana.
Natchitoches just added 2 albino gators to its roster.
So have you seen an albino gator?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen one grown up?
I believe so.
The Audubon Zoo had one. Yeah. I don't know if they still do or not.
I don't know, but I remember seeing it.
But that's a weird look, man.
It is.
It's It's somebody forgot to color it in.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff going on there. Hey, in other news, it looks like Forever 21 won't be around forever. They've announced they're closing all of their U.S. stores. So
that would include the one do we have one in the Mall of Louisiana?
I believe we did.
It's amazing how much over the last 3 weeks we've learned that we don't know about shopping malls.
We're just not there as much.
Do we have a Forever 21? We learned we do have a Macy's.
Yes.
And we learned that they're moving their Dick's to the other side. The Dick's Sporting Goods to the other side. Yeah. So as we're picking up a lot on the Mall of Louisiana just accidentally over the last couple weeks. What else is going on?
Oh, well, Ed Sheeran did a pop-up show in the Quarter Saturday morning. He played a few of his hits and revealed a new song as well.
I saw the story on that. Have you heard the song yet?
No, I haven't.
Not me neither.
But I saw him rocking with the tie-dye shirt, with like the bright blue pants. He was joined by the Soul Rebels.
Okay.
Well. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, he did that Saturday morning, and like I'm guessing the storms just rolled through right afterwards.
I guess. Maybe that's what brought the storm in.
Little rain dance.
Little rain dance.
I mean, if it's Ed Sheeran, I would like to hear the new Ed Sheeran song at some point. But I want to know which Marvin Gaye song he stole it from. How about that?
Too soon.
Too soon. Too soon. Is it too soon for lunch plans?
You know what? That all depends, Brian. Where are we going?
We're going to P.F. Chang's.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
No.
Off of Corbin Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. Celebrating the Lunar New Year for the rest of this month, all the way through April 1st. In fact, get yourself a free pork dumplings or free shrimp dumplings if you're purchasing more than $40 worth of food. Can't do this by running up a bar tab. You got to be eating there. And look, if you're taking the family to eat, you're going to spend $40, right? I'm shocked when I go to P.F. Chang's at when you take the ambiance and the level of service and everything else they've got going on for that upscale feel, that upscale product that they give you. You're going to spend $40 if you're taking the whole family, but you're not going to break the bank. It's every time we go there, we'll splurge and get dessert and get the appetizers, and Christy and I'll have drinks and everything. But man, everybody gets what they want. Everybody goes home happy, and it is affordable as well to go along with how delicious it is. Last time I went, I got the sesame beef, and Christy got the sesame chicken, and I got to tell you, when you could do that crispy beef a little, make that beef just a little bit crispy without drying it out, so good, so special. Get a load of all their new menu items at pfchangs.com. But if you're going to see them for lunch today, you know where to find them. They're in Town Center off Corporate Boulevard. Look for the giant golden horse. I meant to give you some cuts here.
Oh, okay.
$16, $17, and $18, please.
All right.
Actually, just 17 and 18.
Okay. No problem. Yeah, the Dane Cook thing. That was years and years ago. It was a guy who had asked him, like, "Hey man, what do you believe?" And he says, "Oh, well, I'm Catholic." And the guy's laughing at him. He's like, "Okay, well, what do you believe in?" Dane Cook asks him, and he's like, "Well, I'm Buddhist. I believe I'm gonna be reincarnated." He's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, what are you gonna be reincarnated as?" He's like, "I'm gonna be reincarnated as a big tree, very big, strong tree." And then Dane Cook goes, as you know, because he was making fun of him for being Catholic. He's like, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into the woods and I'm going to find that tree and I'm going to cut it down and I'm going to print the Bible on him."
Ah,
So it was just like that thing.
all right.
Of course, the joke is, prolonged, but that's the short of it. Was that
Everything with Dane Cook is prolonged.
Oh man, it's like, "Oh, you're making fun of me? Okay,
Yeah.
well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut down that tree and we're gonna print the Bible on you." So good.
I mean, you hate to, make fun of a guy for his religious beliefs.
Right,
When he's
right.
about to be executed.
Yeah.
But Jesse Hoffman's lawyers are saying that he has to do these specific breathing exercises in order to be properly reincarnated. And if he goes into convulsions with the nitrogen hypoxia, it's going to throw off his breathing exercises.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you have a heart attack, it's going to throw off your breathing exercises. If you get hit by a bus, it's going to throw off your breathing. There is no death that doesn't throw off your breathing exercises, because death is the opposite of breathing. Should I do that on the air?
See, I don't know. It's a little dicey territory, but yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, but I'm going to 7:55. We're doing it. So stupid. 616 Talk 1073 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. It is sports time. Coming up tonight. Ooh, wait. No. Yeah, coming up tonight, we got LSU baseball going on. The 20-1 LSU baseball Tigers are back at it. Got a little non-conference action going on tonight. The Tigers are hosting the University of New Orleans. The Privateers will be in Alec Box Stadium. 6:30 is your first pitch. You will find that game on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Now, no midweek game for softball this week. You don't have softball until Friday night. And then you got softball Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And LSU women's basketball will be right here this Saturday night with a late tip-off. 9:15 p.m. is your start time for LSU women's basketball this coming Saturday. Moving over to the men's basketball tournament, we've got the big dance starting off tonight, or today, actually. No, this evening. St. Francis of Pennsylvania taking on Alabama State is one of your first four, as is North Carolina taking on San Diego State. Those are your first two games today. North Carolina, very controversial that they're even in the tournament, when I believe it was their university president was part of the committee that selected teams. And there were a lot of teams that were left on the chopping block that maybe had a better resume than North Carolina. Tomorrow will be Mount St. Mary's versus American University, and then Xavier versus Texas. Those are your battles for your first four, or to determine the first four. Meanwhile, over at football practice, Garrett Nussmeier getting used to his new group of receivers. Aaron Anderson's back, Xavier Thomas is back, Chris Hilton is back, but there are new additions coming through the transfer portal. That would be Berrien Brown, Destin Hill, and Nick Anderson. Nussmeier talks about the group as a whole.
We have a lot of players that can go get the football, and we got guys that will make plays with the ball in their hands. So we have a very dynamic room, I would say, and it's a very competitive room. And they push each other. They understand the standard, and that's what we expect here. It's wide receiver U for a reason.
Of those wide receivers, I think most of us are probably looking forward to Chris Hilton the most, right? I mean, he missed the first 6 games of the season. He had that ankle injury. When he came back, it took a minute to get in the mix. It took a minute to shake off the rust. We remember the shouting match between he and Kelly on the sidelines. And then we remember at the end of the season in the bowl game too, what he could actually show. So definitely looking forward to Chris Hilton. he had touchdown catches against Oklahoma, went 4 for 13 in a touchdown in the bowl game against Baylor. Talking about Hilton, he says he's learned to trust, not in his timing, but in God's plan.
I went from high to low real quick. And like it wasn't a part of my plan, but it was a part of his. And even when I came back, you so pressed to go out there and try to make plays because, you know, that's who you are. But he still told me, nah, not just yet. And then you saw the last 2 games. So, I mean, really just, you got to have faith in God. That's what I say.
It's 6:20. Here's the Fox Business Report. Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart. Renee says good morning. Good morning, Renee. Patrick says you look much warmer this AM. Absolutely. Oh, man. Yeah. Y'all, during the breaks yesterday, so where I was at, about 40 yards away, there was a men's room, and I was walking over just to stand in the men's room for 3 minutes during breaks. Like if we had that bottom of the hour break where it goes 5 minutes, it's like I'm going over at 6:30. I just walked over to go stand in the men's room. There's this guy in there peeing, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm just thawing out, buddy. You do what you got to do.
Take care. Yeah. Oh man, I was cold watching you. I'll be honest. I was here. I'm like, golly, man. I knew it was freaking cold. God.
And the thing of it was, the second the sun started to come up, the second the sun broke the horizon and there was enough light, we found that space heater. We found that outdoor heater. And I'm like, son of... And there was another one a little bit further down. It's like, we could have had this thing the whole time.
It's messed up.
Oh. Sonny says he's too classy to make a joke about that. Oh, about me being in the men's room or about the reincarnation? Oh, crap. This is me. All right, let's head on back to the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center, get a look at what's going on to start off your Tuesday morning. As for the most part, we're actually relatively light right now. You will find some congestion, not delays, just congestion on 12 westbound as you approach the 10-12 merge. Backing up out to Denham Springs, you will find some minor delays as you're hopping on at Range Avenue. It's not nearly enough to make you want to change your route, and let's be honest, you're not changing your route anyway, unless it's closed. So minor delays as you hop on at Range. And some minor congestion as you get towards the 10-12 merge. Meanwhile, on 10 westbound, looking good all the way in from Ascension Parish. 10 eastbound, looking good coming in from West Baton Rouge Parish. And if you move over to the surface streets to see what we've got going on over there, there is only one accident being reported this time. I was posted up on the board 5 minutes ago. Wooddale at Florida. We are looking at an accident. It has been, it's already moved off the roadway. But if you're driving up Florida Boulevard, you will see it. So that's really good traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. Oh. .624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Are you ready to go back to our old congressional districts? We'll talk about that in exactly 60 seconds. First, I got to remind you about the folks over at Cajun Soft Wash. It's spring cleaning time, not just for your home, but for your business as well. Take a look at the walls. Take a look at your roof. little bit of green tinge to it, a little bit of mold buildup, a little bit of algae going on, mildew, whatever the case might be. Cajun Soft Wash has got you covered. I had somebody ask me the other day, Brian, if I'm getting Cajun Soft Wash out on my roof, do they pressure wash it? Because that would negate any long-lasting effects it would have on extending the lifespan of my roof. Now, the answer to that question is no. Absolutely, they do not. They don't pressure wash, and they would never recommend voiding your roof's warranty by doing that either. So what they do is they use an unbelievably safe soft washing process. It is Cajun Soft Wash as opposed to pressure wash. The chemicals they use are both safe and effective. And yes, you can extend the lifespan of your roof by using a soft wash, because nothing shortens the lifespan of your roof like having built up algae, mildew, mold, lichen, whatever it might be that's up there that just kind of eats away at the shingles. Check them out online, CajunSoftWash.com. CajunSoftWash.com. So Baton Rouge's the Louisiana 6th Congressional District is all jacked up now. It spans over the stretch of 11 parishes. Baton Rouge, as the state capital of Louisiana, doesn't have one solid congressional district. We have 3 congresspeople within Baton Rouge, 4 if you broaden out to the general metro area. We're in a bad spot as Baton Rougeans when it comes to our representation up in D.C. Depending on where you live in the city, you either have Congressman Troy Carter, who's going to join us at 8:35, Congressman Cleo Fields, or Congresswoman Julia Letlow, who's going to join us tomorrow at 8:35. Little D.C. Current presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Where we're at right now, due to the jacked up gerrymandered district that came out of a special session and a number of court battles last year, we lost, and I'm editorializing here, we lost fantastic representation in Congressman Garrett Graves. Where we're at right now, and this is not a shot at Cleo Fields because he hasn't gotten his feet underneath him to do anything yet. And it's not a partisan thing either. But where we're at right now does not leave us in the best of hands, because it doesn't leave us in any one set of hands. I, as a Baton Rougean, can't say, Baton Rouge, here's your congressman, because that could be one of half of Louisiana's delegation. Per the Center Square, another round of ping pong over Louisiana's congressional map is set to begin as the U.S. Supreme Court prepares to hear arguments over the years-long legal battle. The arguments scheduled for March 24th will include the combined cases of Louisiana versus Calais and Robinson versus Calais, or Calais. Were the court to rule against Louisiana, the game will begin again, and the legislature will be sent back to the drawing board. The map being challenged was drawn in early 2024 as a compromise to provide black voters with fair and constitutional representation. That's how this all got started. Is your representation racially? Your representation had to be in balance with your population. And I get that. I also hate the idea that if you are an African American, that's all you are. That's a stupid thing to say. But the way that the law was interpreted, that's the way that it made it look. It made it look like my neighbors and I have nothing in common as neighbors, and the only thing we should be judged on is the color of our skin. The way the law was interpreted made it look like we should be pitted ourselves against each other to make sure that we're only taken care of along racial lines. I don't know about you, but when Hurricane Ida rolled through, it hit my neighbor just as hard as it hit me. In 2016, the flood hit my neighbor slightly harder than it hit me because I was one more house removed. Go to the neighbor on the other side, they didn't get touched. There are so many different aspects about living in Louisiana that make us different than the rest of the nation, and I love that. That is one of the most special things about living here. And none of those things involve race. But what was interpreted broke things down off of, if you are 33% black, then 33% of your representation has to match that. So now I share a congressman. I live in Sherwood Forest, and I share a congressman with people who live just off the campus of Northwestern State University, as if those two places are the same. Now, if you live in, let's say, Mid-City, you share a congressperson with, all the way up to Caddo. So the Supreme Court's going to take a look at it. This is after the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of Louisiana was on the other side of the debate, helping out to make sure that you had two majority-minority districts. Can't wait to dig into this once it happens, because there's going to be so many other questions to break down. Do you just look at racial division? Is that the only thing that is a qualifier here? Or is there more to it geographically, economically, socially, outside of color? That conversation will pick up next week, actually. Here's news. Did I say good morning to Christy? Good morning, Christy. I think I did. Hope I did. Did he say off? I don't know that that's right.
Really? Firing squad over. Okay.
Yeah. Look, I don't know why firing squad isn't given more of a nod. I know it sounds awful, but
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't even go firing squad. I'd go full on mafia hit, man. 22 behind the ear.
Firing squad sounds brutal, but probably after the first shot, someone's got a target. They know where to hit you.
Yes.
You're not gonna suffer.
Right.
This can be quick. Like you said, even that, like a mafia hit, like something like that, you're before you even know it.
Yeah.
There's no, yeah.
There's
no convulsing if you sever the brainstem.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know how long it takes for the head to fill up with blood and lungs to fill up with blood, but
Imagine it'd be kind of at a rapid rate, though.
yeah.
Ugh.
Sonny says, wait, never mind. I do both. Apparently, so do I. So,
You know.
like Seinfeld said, don't they have tall buildings where you live? I think Patrick has recommended shoving the guy off of a building as an execution method. I don't know. We might be crossing the streams on what topic we're talking about here. If not, if we are crossing the streams, and that's a remarkably poor timed post. If we are, it's funny.
Hello, good morning, sir. Hey, yeah, looking to have you.
Byron, all shits are below the belt. Byron says I wouldn't pick firing squad, risk of being shit below the belt. I think he means shot. But I can guarantee you, if I'm in front of a firing squad, I'm shitting below the belt myself. So that's gonna happen. Oh. And it's time to get a look at your Tuesday forecast, and for the rest of the week, for that matter. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. Never proofread, Byron. It's funnier that way. Yes. 636 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Every Tuesday at about this time, we check in down in New Orleans, see how things are going right down the interstate. For that, we are joined now, as we are every Tuesday, by Jeff Crouere, host of Ringside Politics. Jeff, how are you, man?
I'm great, Brian.
Okay, before we get into any business, I didn't see you on Sunday. Where were you at?
I was there. I was out there on Metairie Road. We had a tremendous crowd out there, and
it was
ridiculous. Sort of back and forth. Because I live right off of Metairie Road, so it's back and forth between the house and out there. So, how did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, I'm sunburnt, Jesus and back, but I definitely took in all the sun. But no, it was a fantastic time from start to finish. Okay, give me I don't want to give your address on the air, but Metairie and Bonneville, Conifer, up by Flirty Girl, where where
between right near Metairie Road and Bonneville.
Okay,
near there.
Okay.
And it's just, the crowd was just, amazing. Just an amazing, because you had Argus and you had, the parade that we normally have, and it was just massive. Just the entire parish showed up,
and then some. I know it was so huge from start to finish. Okay, well that explains it, because we got distracted by our grand marshal wanted to stop and toast every 3 blocks. And whatever that jewelry store is that was right past that intersection, we had a toast there as well. So it was we all got drawn in like a moth to the flame. We were pulled in by the nth toast of the day. All right, business to attend to. Can we start off with the scheduled execution for tonight? This thing's on again, off again, and I'm hesitant to even say which way it is at any given time, because it seems to be turning right back around. Do you think this is going to happen today?
That is a great question. I tend to think it's going to happen, but as you say, it's been back and forth, and I'm hesitant to make a final prediction. I think it's going to happen. it looks like that, we're going to have our first execution in many, many years here in Louisiana. And the debate is not whether this individual is guilty or not. It's just about the way he is being executed.
Right.
The method. So, yeah, there's a lot of opposition. I saw some folks in the group that were opposed to it, believing that it, is reminiscent of what was done by the Nazis and that this shouldn't be used as a method and so forth. And, I just keep thinking about, the friends and families, members of the victim, and what this individual did during his, life of crime, and that we need justice for the victims and their families. So I think it's going to happen, but as you say, it's been a back and forth legal battle. And this administration is really pushing to restart these executions. We have people on death row that have been there, as you know, Brian, for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Abused the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And this guy was convicted. Well, the crime happened in 96, which is almost 30 years ago. And he's been on death row for close to 20 years. And now that it's like day of, okay, so yesterday afternoon, I saw the story about the Buddhist angle that came out. And then about a half an hour later, I saw a press release from Liz Merle saying that this was still going to happen. That's why I'm hesitant to say one way or another, because with this flurry of last minute appeals and last minute filings and whatnot, from 1 minute to the next, it feels like it's on again, off again. And that's the way it's going to be until we get to the end of the day.
Yeah. And we do want to remember the victim here, Molly Elliott. And as you say, it happened 30 years ago.
Right.
I mean, can you believe that? This has been going on for 30 years. I mean, what a mockery of our criminal justice system, Brian.
Yeah, and you know what? You don't have to be pro-death penalty or anti-death penalty to say that, Jeff. Either way we're not fulfilling what the law was at the time and is right now. It's right. Like everyone needs to put their feelings to the side and say, yeah, if I'm against the death penalty, I need to fight to remove the death penalty. But at the same time, though, I have to respect the law. I don't know why there's not room for that in the argument.
Other states seem to handle it in a more expedited manner, and hopefully we'll start doing that here in Louisiana. I mean, I don't know why we don't have multiple methods of execution here, whereby we can take away any controversy. And I know in other states you have other methods such as firing squads.
South Carolina has a firing squad. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that would be accepted or an acceptable method in this particular case, based off of the filing about how Hoffman, who is a quote unquote practicing Buddhist, he has to go through these particular breathing exercises in order to be properly reincarnated. And they say nitrogen hypoxia would throw off those breathing exercises. I don't know about you, Jeff. I thought death threw off breathing at all. So I just, one way or another.
That's a first. I haven't never heard that one before, Brian.
It's a good pull. You got to credit their lawyers on that one. I don't know what Buddhism says about raping and murdering a girl, but
very innovative. But it happened so many years ago, and the family, I think, has been so destroyed by this. And they're quoted as saying, they're sort of indifferent. It's not going to bring her back. They just want closure. So. It's just horrific. And just think about it, Brian, all the murders that have happened in New Orleans, all the individuals who have been killed, where the crimes have been in Orleans Parish, the Orleans Parish juries, none of those people, thousands of people have died, have been put to death. None of them.
Yeah. And I don't know that the death penalty has been sought in all those cases. But in the ones where it has been sought, and it has gone through all the trials and appeals and everything else. I mean, it's not like every murder has to end up like this, but those that have cleared all these legal hurdles, which, I mean, it's negating the work that, the AG's office has done.
Right.
Yeah.
What comes to mind is Antoinette Franks. I mean, she's been on death row for 30 plus years as well. Lynn Davis, the corrupt police officer, been on death row since the mid-90s.
For those in Baton Rouge that don't know the story, tell the Antoinette Davis story, because this is remarkable that she is still around.
Well, I mean, again, from what I remember, she was a corrupt police officer who was, involved in criminal activity and wound up killing some fine folks out in New Orleans East who operated a restaurant. And again, no closure in that case. She's been on death row for a long time. Lynn Davis, another corrupt police officer who was involved in ordering a hit on someone who was a witness to a crime. And if I'm not mistaken, he had been one of the ones who had his sentence commuted by Joe Biden, because I guess this was a federal case and Biden had the ability to commute a lot of sentences, and he did for Lynn Davis. And just another, and then who knows whether he really signed those orders or not on his own, the whole auto pen controversy.
What's your takeaway on that? Are we making much ado about nothing over the auto pen versus the actual signature?
Well, I think if there was a confidence that Joe Biden was mentally competent, it would be much ado about nothing. But I think there's a real question, and we saw it during the debate, as to how competent Joe Biden was, and what he really knew and didn't know. I mean, they did find commutations that were signed on December 30th of 2022 when he was, and it supposedly was done in the city of Washington, and he was at the time golfing in the Virgin Islands. So I don't know. It could have been going on for longer than just the last year of his administration. I've been wondering for a long time who was really the president, Brian. I don't think it was Joe Biden.
I just, you hate that we have to walk down this path to ask this question. And what's even worse is I don't know that we're ever going to get answers. Because you can't determine between the two.
Right. I mean, they hit it very well. It was a cover-up. I think it makes Watergate look like child's play. And the real sad part about it is the media was complicit. They knew that Joe Biden was not mentally competent. And one of the people that was one of the cheerleaders for him leading with the lies is the former mayor of New Orleans, Mitch Landrieu, who kept saying that, Biden was sharp behind closed doors and all this other nonsense. And we know that was a big lie. And of course, Landry was very involved in the re-election campaign for Joe Biden and had run the infrastructure program for Joe Biden and probably saw a role for himself in another Biden administration.
Mm.
So, yeah, it was just one lie after another. And I think President Trump is determined to expose it. So we'll see.
Last one before we get you out of here, I want to check in over on Tulane. Are you following all this DEI stuff at Tulane?
Yeah, from what I understand, there's concern about the funding they're getting. They are so-called revamping, overhauling their quote-unquote diversity office. So, a lot of these universities have had DEI offices, and those offices are being targeted now, Brian. So this is something Tulane's going to have to deal with pronto, because a lot of money is on the line.
Yeah, well, you would think on the surface it's like, well, Tulane's a private school, but they're looking at losing upwards of $320 million in research funding, which, that is a big number. That can impact you.
And we know that Columbia just lost $400 million,
right?
And this was because of their granting of all these horrible protests, anti-Semitic protests, and allowing that to occur on their campuses. Tulane had a bunch of anti-Semitic protests too on their campus, and I witnessed one firsthand.
Really? They get out of hand?
Yeah, right there on St. Charles Avenue. They put up like a city, and it was it was clear. It was, to me, pro-Hamas.
Anti-Semitism at Tulane. That's just irony that make Oscar Wilde laugh. That's
yeah.
Oh, he's Jeff Crouere. You got a show coming up in about 10 minutes, man. I always appreciate the time. Glad you enjoyed yourself on Sunday. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, Brian. Take care.
Later on. We got to talk about Landmark Bank for 60 seconds before we hit your money now. Folks over at Landmark Bank are here for you as not just a bank, but your banker. Who is your banker? All right. Now, I'm not asking, give me a name like a Capital One or a Chase. I mean, who's your banker? I'm asking for a name like Tom or Sue. I'm asking for, when you walk through that front door, who are you shaking hands with? Who is helping you map out your future? Who do you go to when you want to buy a new home, when you want to put an addition on your home, when you want to buy a new car, or when you're starting a business or growing your business? LandmarkBankLA.com is your home base here. LandmarkBankLA.com. Go there, find out where the branches are. They've been doing this for over 100 years, making sure that community banking remains community banking. That's relationship built. So check out the different locations at landmarkbankla.com, and get yourself started. Don't just get a bank, get a banker. LandmarkBankLA.com. Quick break for Your Money Now. What the hell? No. All right. I now have the Game Changer app. Game Changer. It's how we handle communication in Abby's AAU basketball team. So, had the parents meeting last night after the first practice. I thought I saw LSU's coach there. I'm gonna have to find out about that. Yeah. But we have moved up in the world from club basketball to AAU basketball. And what do we have here? Oh, the James C. poll. Okay. What do we got? What the hell? Coach Kim Mulkey and the LSU Tigers host San Diego State in round one of the NCAA tournament. Saturday, our coverage with pregame begins at 8:45 p.m. Tip-off is at 9:15 p.m. Patrick Wright, Shaida Wilson, we will be on the call. Yours truly will be producing. The coffee ready for that one. It'll be late. Your home for LSU women's basketball is Talk 107.3 FM. All right. You heard the story in our news here at the bottom of the hour. A recent poll by JMC Analytics, commissioned by Unite America, found that Louisiana voters overwhelmingly favor the open primary system that has all candidates of all parties on a single ballot. JMC founder John Cuvion says support for an open primary has the advantage of simplicity.
Basically, you're allowed to vote for any candidate you want, unfiltered by the party affiliation of that candidate. So I think the simplicity and the convenience are what voters like, because you only have two elections, a primary and a runoff.
As opposed to the possibility of a primary runoff, then a general, and if you've got more than two parties involved, a general runoff. Now, more than likely, if you have a closed primary system, you're not going to see a runoff in the general, because the overwhelming majority of all of us are Republicans or Democrats, and you have to really get a really significant chunk from a third party or a no party in order to push that runoff. It would be unusual. Cuvion says under the closed primary system, it would be split treatment, because you would have that party runoff before the general.
It would be 6 months later. So it's going to be a big change relative to what we've been doing for approximately the last 50 years.
What's amazing is as we've moved towards a closed primary system for federal elections, other states are moving towards the open primary, the jungle primary that we've had. Like, we look around the country and say we want it like them, and other states from around the country look at us and say we want it like we had it. It's one of those cases where the grass is always greener on the other side. And when the grass gets greener, it's time to cut the lawn. I don't think that's the way the phrase goes, but we'll roll with it. Cuvion says the biggest surprise that he saw in the poll was that only a third of those polled were aware that there was going to be a change.
That, to me, creates the tremendous potential for chaos when you have voters going to the polls next April and they're going to be told that they can't vote for some of their favorite candidates.
And the biggest part of this is, okay, so number one, you've got the number of people who were one party and then that party left them, okay? The never Trump Republicans, the traditional Democrats. Like, if you were a Democrat from the 70s or 80s, you look at your party today and it's nothing like what it was. I'm a Reagan Republican and my party's nothing like what it was. It gets tougher and tougher to keep up, because the most important thing in politics today is beating the other guy. There is no party platform that is static. There is no belief set, no belief structure that is static. The most important thing is just beating the other guy and hating him along the way. If you ask what Republicans stand for, it's beating Democrats. If you ask what Democrats stand for, it's calling Republicans Nazis and beating them. That's it. So there's a lot of folks who have never bothered to go back and change their affiliation. There's a lot of folks who never moved their affiliation to no party, which, by the way, side note, if you're looking to change your political affiliation before any election, do not go independent, because there is an independent party. The pro move here, the little hack right here, is to go no party. You go no party and things open up for you to vote. You go independent and you're stuck voting for the independent party. Now, come general election, it opens back up and you can vote for whoever. But that's just for voting in the primaries. It'll be a serious education tour as we get ready for it. Ooh, here comes news. It's 7 o'clock. I need to go see if Cassidy's here. don't want to spend too much on it because you got real shit going on. You got real business you've been doing. Yeah, I don't want to spend the entire segment on it because you've been working. There's real business to tend to. We're not on yet. Yeah, just video. Okay, good. .705 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. We're flipping the script this hour. We got Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation coming up at 7:35. Normally we would have top stories and trending right now and then a guest at 7:15, but Senator Bill Cassidy was right across the street at WAFB, and I said, you know what? Let's do top stories and trending in a little bit to make sure we get the senator in studio. So starting right there, how are you, sir?
I am doing really well, thank you. Good to be with you, and good to be home. We've been in D.C. Almost full time since inauguration, getting President Trump's nominations completed, and we've set a record for the number. But I've not been home, like, come home on a Friday at most. And so it's great to be home. The weather's gorgeous. The people are wonderful. St. Patty's Day parade, on and on. So it's great.
I want to get to all of it because y'all have been busy, but I've got to start with the recent meeting with President Trump because I want to talk on a very human level here. I know leader of the free world, senators, one of 100 in the country, but man to man, Is that awkward sitting across from the guy you voted to impeach twice?
Not at all. No, I did not vote to impeach him twice. Once.
Oh, it was once? Okay.
Yeah. But no, we're focused on the future. The president's focused on his agenda. He's got 2 cabinet secretaries that he would not have if I had not helped him get them.
Yes.
He's got like Melania Trump is now interested, I'm told, in some legislation that I have regarding online safety for children. We're focused on the future. And by the way, the future of our country and the future of Louisiana. And so he said, "Hey, Bill, good to see you." Says hello to everybody else, Mr. President, good to see you. And then it's how do we get to work? So no, boom, positive.
Okay, so pardon the Republican pun, but there's no elephant in the room, right? I mean, it's just you've moved on as men.
You know, anybody that is successful moves on, as a man or a woman.
Yes.
And anybody who's married moves on occasionally. If you're with me.
I am.
And so again, he's got 2 cabinet secretaries he would not have if I had not gotten them through. That's what he cares about. Cabinet secretaries, his agenda, etc. And that's what I care about too.
All right, let's talk about that agenda. Let's start with the CR. Government's gonna stay open for a little while. How did we get to where we are right now to where, for lack of a better phrasing, who flipped Chuck Schumer to make sure the lights stayed on?
Well, first, let's give a credit to Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
They sent something over from the House of Representatives that could pass. They had worked with the president to make sure that he would be on board. They let us know sufficiently that, okay, no surprises for us. Some folks were like, well, we should have changed it. If we had changed it in the Senate, it would have gone back to the House. And by the way, those folks are already home, and Johnson was not sure he could get the votes. And so, just change it here, change it there. Yeah, boom. And then it all falls apart. Next, they put Schumer in a box. It was going to be the Schumer shutdown. He should have passed the budget last Congress. He didn't. We're cleaning up his mess, keeping the government open, and they're going to let it fall apart. No, it was a no-win situation for them. I thought the president was kind of, the president knew what he was doing when he said, "Congratulations to Chuck. You did a good job." Of course, that just sticks at Chuck's face. And we got it through. Now the government's open through the end of the year. Let's get on to 2026.
The flip side of that was if the shutdown had gone through, Doge would have gotten a big boost because we could see what's real and what can be lived without.
No, I'll tell you, it's always kind of a little bit of a, like fool's gold. When you shut down, it costs the taxpayer more money.
It does.
Now, Brian, I'm all about how do we balance the budget. The president in his address to Congress said we need to balance the budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about how do we balance the budget. And if we're spending extra money to keep people at home not doing their job, that is the exact opposite of Doge. Doge wants people to list 5 things they did last week send an email, 5 things you did last week to make sure you still have a pulse. I'm serious on that. And so let's balance the budget. Let's keep the people working. If the people aren't doing anything, replace them or get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
But let's keep going.
We got Senator Bill Cassidy in with us, talking a little bit about what he's been up to on the Hill. I do want to get to the halt fentanyl act because that is important as we're starting to see the tide turning a little bit. But I got to start with Social Security Fairness Act. We're going to move next to the Social Security Fairness Act because this is a big win. Was a big win for Congressman Graves on his way out the door, and you picked it up on the Senate side and made sure it crossed the finish line. And now we have the added bonus of kind of I don't want to say a windfall, but we get to rewind the clock a little bit to make sure people are whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who aren't aware of it, if someone was a state or local public employee
mm-hmm.
who paid into the state or local pension fund, didn't pay into social as a state worker, but had a side job, as many people do, working over the summer as a teacher or moonlighting as a nurse, and you earned a lot of money in social, you got really penalized when you retired, really penalized. And they were not aware of that. And I just spoke to a high school buddy of mine who was a sheriff's deputy for many years. He goes to sign up for his social benefits, and whoa, they're incredibly cut, even though he was always working a side job doing private security as a sheriff's deputy. We stopped that. Now, if you paid into social, you get the benefit that you deserve. And we've been working on this probably for 40 years, but it's got teed up in the House. It was going to stop in the Senate. A couple of people, me and Susan Collins, who's also from a state affected by this, went to the mattresses. The president came out for it. The president and I were on the same page. We passed it. And now if you are due your social, you're getting your social.
Keeping with that, the work still continues to keep Social Security viable long term. How's that battle going?
Yeah. So people may not be aware, but part of our debt and deficit problem is that the Social Security Trust Fund goes insolvent in about 7 or 8 or 9 years, at which point, by law, there'll be a 25% cut in everybody's benefits. Like, boom, you're getting $100, now you only get 75. You're getting 1,000, you get 750. That'll double the rate of poverty among the elderly. So I've been working incredibly hard now for about 4 years to try and fix this. It takes a long time to get people on the same page. I'm now talking to the Trump administration to get them there too. We've got a plan. Doesn't raise the retirement age, doesn't cut benefits for folks, for seniors, doesn't raise taxes for seniors, and it fixes the problem. So Brian, I'd like to tell you, when I come back in 8 months, we've got the legislation teed up. So keep it in your prayers.
Will do. Absolutely. All right. Halt Fentanyl Act. All right. Last year was the first year in Louisiana we did not see a record number of fentanyl deaths in about 5 or 6 years. We've seen it go up and up and up, records breaking records. I don't know if there's a turning of the tide or if it's just a blip on the radar, but you've been working on the Halt Fentanyl Act, and what are you hoping will be the outcomes of, I mean, obviously fewer deaths, but passing this legislation through?
So first, what we do, this is my bill, the Halt Fentanyl Act. The president will sign it into law probably in a week or two. And what it says is, if a criminal is trying to bring in something that looks like fentanyl, not quite fentanyl, but it looks like fentanyl, they can't have the excuse that it's technically not fentanyl. Mm-hmm. We say if it looks like fentanyl, if it addicts like fentanyl, if it kills like fentanyl, it's fentanyl. And if you have it, you're getting busted. It's not a silver bullet. It's silver buckshot. It gives law enforcement one more tool. I spoke to Hiller Moore yesterday. He says that Sid Gotro and others in East Baton Rouge Parish have lowered the rate of fentanyl deaths by 25% from last year. And that was 25% down from the year before. These are the type of tools, you add them all together, you give them to law enforcement, and law enforcement can drive that rate down. We want the 74,000 people who died from fentanyl last year to go to zero, and that's our goal.
The thing here is, so it's been worked on in Louisiana for sure, but Louisiana doesn't have a border with Mexico or Canada for that matter. So how do we make sure that this bill focuses on stopping the inflow?
So there's no single solution. This is part of the solution. Mm-hmm. Let's give a tip of the hat to President Trump. When he told Mexico, we're going to put a 25% tariff on you unless you do something about fentanyl and something about the caravans of folks coming here to cross our border illegally, Mexico stepped up and started to do it. So that's another tool we have. We need tool after tool after tool. If we get it, we'll continue to drive that rate down.
Last one before we get you out of here, and you mentioned the 25% tariff. How much is the tariff talk and the trade war talk? How much is that infiltrating y'all's day-to-day business?
Oh, very much so. But President Trump, I think, uses some of this as just a negotiating tool. I'm not sure he's actually going to put it out there. Mm-hmm. I think he puts it out there, he scares Mexico, and then he pulls it back.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen people react to it.
Right,
so,
totally.
Yeah. He is Senator Bill Cassidy. Greatly appreciate a couple minutes this morning. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, sir.
Quick break. Coming back, we'll do top stories and trending next.
Thanks, man.
Kill the mics.
Appreciate it.
717 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Wow. Whew. John, I got to tell you, man, I was kind of sweating that interview.
I believe it.
Like, the senator's been a long time friend of the show. He's been very accessible, very open, very candid about the work that he does up in Washington, D.C. And I was hesitant because if you don't have the conversation about the impeachment vote, there's no reason to have any other conversation yet.
Right.
So he was
clear.
blunt and forthright. We moved on.
Yep.
I said, was it awkward? He said, absolutely not. I don't know if I'll buy the absolutely not part. It'd be a little bit of sweat. It'd be a little bit of sweat. But no, he makes a good point. You got the business of the nation to tend to. If the right is going to say, why does the left keep bringing up January 6th 4 years later? Then shouldn't that be the same thing here?
Absolutely.
And look, I don't know that that's going to convince everyone. I don't know. Some people will hold a grudge. And during it's Lent, I'm Catholic. Maybe I'm not the right guy to talk to about this right now. But some people will hold a grudge. But I thought that answer specifically, because he's a long time been a very good senator for us. And so anyway, I greatly appreciate the senator's time. That was a really good segment. Really good segment. Download the free Talk 107.3 mobile app. Find out what you missed each day at talk1073.com and watch us live on Facebook and the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel, all courtesy of Lake Urgent Care. Lake Urgent Care, walk-in care for minor illnesses and injuries. All right, we flipped the script to have the senator in here, so let's get right back to business. Top stories and trending.
Number 5.
What is going on up in Zachary? Our news partners at WBRZ reporting attorneys Ron Haley and Ryan Boyer say although the arrest of Rollins Place Elementary Assistant Principal Christy Scott Gilpin is a step forward, there's still justice that needs to be served. What is the justice, or what is this over? Well, in February, Jamisha Augustine accused the administrator of forcing her 6-year-old daughter to clean up her own feces after having an accident at school from a dairy allergy. Gilpin turned herself in Monday, facing cruelty to juvenile charges. She was released on a $25,000 bond.
Number 4.
Speaking of Zachary, a Baton Rouge police officer whose name has not been disclosed was placed on administrative leave after they were involved in a fiery crash while driving an unmarked police car off duty. Again, our news partners at WBRZ, their investigative unit learned the wreck happened along Zachary Slaughter Highway near Church Street on Sunday night. Both drivers suffered non-life-threatening injuries. The Zachary Police Department is investigating the crash.
Number 3.
East Baton Rouge Parish firefighters are now able to use large fire blankets designed to suffocate electric vehicle fires in a matter of seconds. The blankets, unveiled at a press conference yesterday, are similar to the ones that firefighters were seen using to extinguish the Cybertruck fire outside of the Trump Tower in Las Vegas on New Year's Day.
Number 2.
The potential developer of LSU's new $400 million arena is expected to submit its development plans to the Board of Supervisors and the Board of Regents for approval within 60 days. I'm grabbing this story from the Daily Report, who got it from attorney Charles Landry, who has been hired to work with the university on the project.
Number 1.
As it stands right now, AG Liz Murrell says the Jesse Hoffman will be executed tonight. That being said, be ready for a flurry of appeals and motions and everything else throughout the day today. His attorneys have been filing numerous last-minute challenges in the hopes of a stay. Everything from refiling a decade-old motion to claiming the execution could negatively impact his reincarnation as a practicing Buddhist. See, he's got these breathing exercises, John.
Right.
Hoffman does?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you execute him, you'll interrupt those breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Because,
do that, right?
well, I know,
I mean,
but it could affect reincarnation.
You know. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Death affects breathing.
Yeah.
Headline!
There's that. You know,
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it.
No.
But it's difficult not to.
Man. What if he comes back as a breathing machine?
Ooh.
What if he's reincarnated?
Reincarnated.
Like a breathing
Yeah.
machine?
Could be. Could be. Look, if South Carolina has a firing squad, And we're learning more and more that that's a viable option.
Yeah.
So get after it.
Mm.
All right. What else going on? Trending stories. What
Well,
we got?
starting off with the shark alligator rule, Gator County Alligator Park in Natchitoches
Yes.
just added 2 albino gators to its roster. How you like that, huh?
Albino gators are so weird looking.
They are.
They are.
They really are.
They're just it's like they're unfinished. Like you need to dip them in paint, which I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, we mentioned last hour, right? I believe the Audubon Zoo is where I seen my first albino
But it was like
alligator.
a full grown one.
Yeah, it was.
These are little, which
Yeah.
they're not even albino. They're like translucent almost.
Aw.
It's with the big old eyes and whatnot.
Big
Baby
red eyes?
gators are adorable.
Yeah.
They are.
Oh yeah.
That's that being said, they get 2 of them.
Hmm.
They're in Natchitoches. Might have to make a run.
Yeah.
I mean,
That'd be cool.
Yeah. You ever been
Really
to a
cool.
gator farm?
I have.
Yeah, or a park? Which one?
In Gibson.
Where?
Well, not Gibson. I'm sorry. Yeah, in Gibson. It's in Homa. Near Homa. Yeah, there's a gator farm out there. Kind of take some field trips. We took the kids just because, like, yeah, some good stuff.
Christy and I went to one. Wow, this is forever ago. We went to the Instigator farm.
Yeah.
On the North Shore.
Okay.
Go in August. Recommend go in August, and you can hatch the gator in your hands.
Yeah, that's how
because
this place
it's around
was.
August when they hatch, right?
Right. Yeah.
And if you go around that time. Now that being said, it is so hot out there, but because it's August and you go in the little enclosure and you're like, oh look, I'm out of the sun. No, you're like at 400% humidity. But it's fun because like okay, aside from hatching the gator in your hand, they'll have like the baby. We're good until news,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
I know
we're
we back
good.
things. Okay,
We're good. I'm keeping an eye on it.
So you can hatch the baby, and then like you get the smaller gators, and they feed them marshmallow. You can like throw marshmallows to them
Yeah.
and feed them, and you can see them snap, pop down the jaw on a little marshmallow.
Man.
And then they get to the bigger gators, and all right, hopefully the kids are in school by now because this story gets a little dark. They'll let a mouse go in the gator enclosure, and the mouse will be running around on the backs of the gators, and you start pulling for the mouse.
Yeah.
It's so dark. Like,
And like he's not gonna make it.
it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. Nature will take its course. Alligator will eat mouse. But the thing is, the mouse is going to run around. Like the one that we saw was like standing in between the eyes of the gator.
Oh man.
And then runs down the gator's back and then jumps over to another gator like James Bond in Live and Let Die. And then another one and then another one. And then finally one
That's
gator
it.
snaps down and that's it that is it for said mouse.
Well, at least it's a mouse and not like a chicken or something. That'd be brutal.
Yeah.
At least it's a mouse.
Why?
Hey man, I'm just saying. Hey, it looks like Forever 21 won't be around forever. They've announced they're closing all their U.S. stores.
Yeah.
Including the one in
the Mall of Louisiana.
The Mall of Louisiana.
The ever-shifting Mall of Louisiana. Which, look, props to the Mall of Louisiana for adapting.
Yeah.
Can we go from that angle to say that you look around the nation at malls and how many TikTok videos, if you've got TikTok or Reels, do you see of people exploring abandoned malls?
Oh yeah, all the
right?
time. Yeah.
Finding a new life for a mall, that's a bonus.
Oh yeah.
Moving the Dick's Sporting Goods, moving Dick's from the other side to the front. I say front because it faces Bluebonnet.
Right.
All right. You're not going to
No,
say
I
it's
know
the
what
front
you
when it's
mean.
on the back side. You don't want.
It's so funny. I'm looking at the phone like I'm just ready for Costa.
I know.
No, I'm just ready for
Sporting
Costa.
Goods. Grow up. Anyway, they moved the Dick's. You don't know if Macy's is shutting down or not because Macy's had their announcement not long ago. And now Forever 21 is not forever. No.
Indeed. Hey, in other news, Ed Sheeran did a pop-up show in the Quarter Saturday morning. He played a few of his hits and revealed a new song.
And then a storm that killed 40 people rolled through.
Well,
are we blaming Ed Sheeran for this now? Is that how this is working?
Hey,
have you heard the new song?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I.
I haven't.
Soul Rebels in there though.
Yeah, Soul Rebels in there. He showed up with a portable PA and the microphone, just like going down the street.
Just
man, good on
like
him.
a Mr. Karaoke.
Yeah.
It's Ed Sheeran somewhere off Royal with a Mr. Karaoke.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
He's here to party, man.
And just everybody's like, out in the quarter, be like, who's the redhead?
Yeah.
There's nothing going on here today. There's nothing happening in the quarter on Saturday. Everybody's getting ready for a really nasty storm to roll through.
Right.
Parades
comes
were
Ed
canceled
Sheeran.
for crying out loud.
Popping out of an SUV.
And then,
like,
yeah,
hey,
meanwhile,
guys.
it's like, who's the leprechaun?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say he's a little guy.
Yeah.
He's probably easy to overlook. Oh man.
Oh, I meant with the red hair.
Oh, I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
no, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I mean. I mean, yeah. Oh goodness.
Was that it for trending?
That's it.
All right. See, here's the thing. We wanted to flip things around to make sure we can get the interview in.
Right.
So it was going to leave an imbalance in the clock.
Yep.
I tell you what we can do here. Oh, wait. No, there's not an imbalance in the clock. This is going to time out perfectly. I got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. Highland and Kenilworth. Mathern's is open. If you are in the Kenilworth subdivision or Magnolia Woods or anywhere, Walden, anywhere around there, you remember Kenilworth Supermarket from back in the day? Well, owned by the Mathern's people, the Mathern's family. It's back in the OG location. Right there on Highland, right west of Kenilworth Drive. The family you love, the prices you miss have come home. Back opened as of Friday. I went by yesterday on my way back from CCL, and they're open, but it's still a work in progress to be sure. Now, they've got grand opening plans in the works right now. They're getting things together to bring you the full service of a Mathern's supermarket. But in the meanwhile, they're here for you. They're here, they are open, and they are ready to roll. Don't forget the downtown location is still here, nestled in between 3rd and 4th Street. Of course, you've got the Nicholson Drive location, Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center directly across the street from Tiger Stadium. Mathern's has got you covered on all fronts. All right, we got news, traffic, and weather coming up. On the backside of news, we're going to check in with the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation is slated to join us. They're moving their headquarters, y'all, and I want to kind of put this on the tee before we get to them so that we can hit the ground running in our next segment. Press release came out yesterday. The Baton Rouge Area Foundation has announced they will move to a new location late this summer. The organization has outgrown their current office space at 100 North Street. They'll be relocating just a few blocks away to the Rivermark Center at the corner of Florida and 4th Street. BRAF will lease the lower level of the 330,000 square foot Rivermark 1 building, which was renovated by Wampole Companies and completed in November of 2023. All right, I want to ask this question, and I want your answers on Facebook Live. First, it was Visit Baton Rouge. Now it's BRAF. Are we entering a bold new stage of downtown Baton Rouge that those who first relocated to downtown Baton Rouge to kind of help boost the lifespan of it, they're now seeing the growth from within? It's time to hand off to somebody else. It's one of the topics we'll be talking about with Chris next. Oh, with the trending stories. I did a bit on Friday about Dick's Sporting Goods, and I got so much feedback. With half the people are like it was hilarious because it was like basically like Dick's poking out the front of the mall. Well, because before Dick's was around back.
All of a sudden, your boss calls.
But everything I said, yeah, right. Thank you, Elon. But it was half the people were like it was hilarious, and the other half the people were like grow up. And I'm like,
Your listening audience, though, is all
yeah, I believe 98% of them are. Yes, the 2% who are not, we're going to be as vocal as could be. So, I did a horrible job of setting it up going in, but Visit Baton Rouge is moving. Y'all are moving. Is this the birth of the new downtown? Because y'all, like, as y'all grow, downtown should be growing too. There will be people to take your old places. You're not leaving abandoned buildings in your wake. Is this part of the rebirth, the rebirth of downtown? Right. It's.
I mean, tomorrow's the Liver Center Commission meeting.
You told me that. When is what time? We have our company-wide employee meeting. Yeah, I wish. All right. I you know what? I think I'm going to be there for the first half hour of it, and then because I'll go from there to my company-wide meeting to hopping on Zoom for the company-wide meeting to go to Rotary because I have to do the news at Rotary, and it would be kind of awesome if my news at Rotary was all about Plan Baton Rouge and what comes out of the first half hour. Oh, can I get something embargoed? Like I promised not to talk about it till Rotary.
I mean, it's only tomorrow. They've just been putting it up.
Okay. Okay.
We are going to announce.
Okay. All right. If you don't mind, because yeah, I'm gonna be moving quickly. Yeah, and this is that time where I feel like I can't get busier, and then session starts in a month, and I get the bonus this year of having legislative session crossover with my daughter's graduation events. Like, hell. How's our forecast looking for the rest of the week? Here's WBRZ meteorologist Tim McCade Cowan. Yeah, I got it open right here. I read a little bit of it last night. I started taking ashwagandha to help me relax at night. And not ayahuasca. That's a different thing. Ashwagandha. And I gotta tell you, it dials you down fast. It's like a sleeping pill. Yeah. Except it's a drink. $7:36, rolling over to 7:37 at Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time for us to check in with the folks at the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. We have Chris Meyer in the building. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, Brian. How are you this morning?
Doing very well. Moving fast today, but we're doing very well.
There's only one speed.
Yes, absolutely. Foot to the floor. No other way to run. I want to talk crime in a little bit, disrupting violent crime to be specific, but we got to start with y'all are growing up, growing out, moving to bigger digs. Tell me all about it.
We're moving down to the first floor, to the lower level. So we've been outgrowing our space. One of the great things about the Baton Rouge Area Foundation is we literally are your community foundation. So we love to gather and bring people together in our current space, which has been, fantastic for the last decade or so. We've just outgrown it, and we're seeing much more demand now for community events, for fellowship opportunities. And so we're excited both for our growing team, but also our community partners to have more space where we can bring people together, focus on the challenges and opportunities in our community, and most importantly, bring some action and solutions to bear.
Y'all looked at the Rivermark Center and said, "Give me the worst view possible." I mean, how? Go up, man. Go
No,
up.
no. Look. We've been on the top floor. I'm ready to be back on the bottom floor. I think what's great about this space is you can physically see into the offices, and
Yeah.
what's so great about the Rivermark Center is all the amenities that are available. And so for us, it really we saw it as a tool to activate the entire building. So depending on the type of meetings we're having or convenings we're having, we really can spread out and kind of use that entire center, which as we were talking in the break, is really emblematic of what Plan Baton Rouge 3 is all about.
Yes. Well, okay. So that kind of pivots us nicely here, is because while y'all are moving into a new space, there will be an old space left behind.
Mhm.
We heard from Visit Baton Rouge recently where they bought a stack of bricks that they're turning into their headquarters. And so they're moving into bigger digs. Now, this to me feels like as those who have been in downtown Baton Rouge continue to grow, there's room for more people to move into downtown
right.
Baton Rouge, and they don't have to start from scratch.
That's
I
exactly
mean, y'all
right.
are leaving behind a pretty nice property.
I think one of the nicest properties, the IBM building in the city, but that's exactly right. I mean, we see, and I think you will see over the coming months, more announcements that are connected to Plan Baton Rouge 3 of major institutions, of new players that are wanting to be in this kind of downtown corridor. The corridor is connected to it. We really, are putting an emphasis on connecting those dots, creating new incentives for folks to be downtown, and frankly, we also talked about what's going to happen in renovating and repurposing the River Center. There's a lot of exciting things coming to physically change downtown, and our move is just one small part of that.
Yeah. Speaking of small parts of that, we had the Zydeco on late last week because they're back to playing now that Mardi
Mhm.
Gras is over with. And I was talking with Everett, their head coach, and they're winning now. That's going to jam things up big time. Like, we're going to have to find them a permanent home.
These are good problems to have.
I know.
We're growing.
They're
We need more
insanely
space.
popular. They're
That's right.
insanely popular, and they're good. Like, we got to. I don't know where they are in the plans here, but they need a spot somewhere.
Yeah, there's a conversation out there.
Okay.
And again, I think all of this, we can invest, we can grow, we can bring more amenities to downtown that frankly attract more people that see it as really our front door, our front porch for the entire community. So we're pumped about that.
Yeah, I don't want to go all like the owner from Major League and be like, they got stink, so they have to move. They're winning and they're popular. So look, I know that they're not the biggest spoke in the wheel here, but they're in there somewhere.
It
No,
matters.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It all contributes to the greater pool that attracts people downtown.
That's right.
Yeah. We got Chris Meyer on with us from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. All right, let's move from y'all's new digs. Oh, timeline.
Hopefully before Labor Day.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Moving from there to some of the work you do once you're in your new headquarters, or work you've been doing at your current headquarters. We're talking about disrupting violent crime in Baton Rouge. Just a new report out. Break it down for me. Give me the bullet points.
Yeah. So, look, we are focused at the foundation with all of our community around driving more opportunity here. And, you have to start by looking in the mirror and asking yourself, what's holding us back? What are our biggest barriers to unlocking opportunity in the community? And what we've talked about a lot on this show is our abnormally high murder rate, our abnormally high violent crime rate that has really put Baton Rouge, unfortunately, in a stratosphere apart from anyone else.
Right.
So we've been working with law enforcement partners. You talk about the Safe BR effort. We have lots of folks that are trying to be part of the solution. And what this study was really unique in that we gathered one of the largest local data sets in the country on the connection between education and violent crime. We went back with 15 years of data on every student who's come through the East Baton Rouge Parish school system since 2007, and anyone who's become violence involved through the DA's office in that data. This is not all publicly available. And so it's a really unique data set that we were able to sort of gain insights across 120,000 individuals and understand when did people that unfortunately got off the track to success and got into a pathway of violence and crime and ultimately murder, what happened to them? What were the signs along the way that got them off the track of success? And when we saw that, it became really, really clear to us where are there points in our schools, in our neighborhoods, when kids are showing these really powerful signs that they are going off track. And that's the moment to intervene, not later down the road.
How do we prevent in researching this? How do we prevent correlation from implying causation?
Yeah.
Because we see poverty in a lot of places. Poverty does not equate to violence in all places, but for here it seems to.
Well, I think it's the combination of stacking the impacts and the effects, right? So I think what this study showed is that if you look at 80% of the homicides that's happened in Baton Rouge over the last 15 years have occurred from people who went through our school system. So we have sort of homegrown our challenges. So if we know that the pattern of past homicides is likely predictive of future ones, unless we change course, unless we intervene, where are those moments that we can begin to make impacts? And we saw the signs as early as kids showing up ready for kindergarten, something else we've talked a lot about here. So our work in early learning, which we're really excited that they're hopefully in our next time we're together next month, there should be a major announcement around what we're doing to transform early learning in this city. So we don't just have half of our kids showing up ready. How do we fix that? Similarly, by the time you get to third grade, kids that are showing those signs of not being able to read on level. Eighth grade, you see it with numeracy issues. And then, we saw in this data set of folks who have been actually convicted of murder, you had close to 90% of those folks chronically absent, truant in eighth grade. And so, again, there are clear signs. And so what we're arguing is public leaders and our fantastic superintendent, Lamont Cole, others in the community, let's direct our resources, especially for teen boys, at those moments where when you start compounding those issues, their likelihood of becoming violence involved just goes through the roof.
We've got Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation with us. I know I'm going to get a cheerleader answer, but how's Lamont doing?
I think Lamont is taking on some of the most difficult but necessary issues in our community. We've talked about the conversation he's having around, based on another report we have at opportunitybtr.org of if you look at the schools in our community that we have some of the best in the country, we also have some that continue to sort of trap kids year over year over year. And I think Lamont's taking on those schools that are historically under-enrolled, underperforming, and underinvested. And so I think that conversation is needed. I think we need to support the school board and him when they're making these really tough calls.
I was hoping for a cheerleader answer because I like Lamont. He was very open and accessible as the mayor pro tem, and he's been very open, a lot more open and accessible as the superintendent of schools than the previous administration. He knows how much work he has to do.
Yeah. And it's part of this formula. I mean, again, it is not normal to accept a murder rate like we have had in Baton Rouge.
Yes.
And if we want to address that, it does take a combination of really hard choices. So we need to direct our dollars differently in places that have seen enormous decreases in the homicide rate, Chicago, Baltimore, Newark. They're investing dollars when we're investing dimes in these sort of prevention programs. We're spreading our resources like peanut butter instead of, and like this report shows, it's really only a few hundred boys in every grade level and every age cohort that are most at risk, who are showing these signs that you start compounding one sign, two signs. Now they get to 5 of these kind of compounding issues. Oh boy, our investment level is much higher and much riskier. So let's intervene earlier in a more targeted way. And that's what you're going to see us begin to make investments in, is these very specific things in partnership with Lamont and others.
Got about 3 minutes left. Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. Opportunity is the key word here, right? Because this is it's a multifaceted equation, but there's 2 big parts of this equation. Is you diagnose, who dropped out of school by 8th grade, then the question becomes why. And you can trace that all the way back to early childhood and knowing how to read and do math at a certain age. That opens up opportunity on this side. But the other side of the equation is diminishing opportunity on the side in, well, for lack of a better term, the jobs that would have you carrying a pistol every day.
Yeah, I mean, so the formula in Baton Rouge is exactly that. It's too many disengaged young men who've dropped out of school. They've not had economic opportunity, and they've come from areas with concentrated poverty, more than 30% of the households. And again, very clear to spot who's at most risk. So if you know that, when, for example, is one of the recommendations in the study, and we're working with the mayor's office and our chamber, BRAC, around enhancing the sort of summer job apprentice program. We actually have really easy ways for students to get on a path to an apprenticeship, internships that lead to meaningful jobs. But we need to target and make sure that those who need it the most are being focused on. And that's one of the things we're going to work with BRAC on making sure it happens.
Well, because by the time they're looking for an apprentice, they're already stamped with whether or not they're going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities or not. They're already stamped with whether or not they can read by the third grade, whether or not they can do math by the third grade. Like, they already are either on that path or not on that path. Now, the apprenticeship is unbelievably important to keep them on that path.
That's right.
But what y'all are doing is tracking it back earlier than that.
That's right. That's right. And it's all of it. And the good news is we don't have to sort of invent this. We can look in communities like Chicago and Baltimore that have had, even New Orleans, for goodness sakes, that had enormous success. Bring those programs to Baton Rouge. Make sure that when we're building a summer jobs program, we're actually targeted on the students who are going to benefit the most from that kind of investment.
He is Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. Already teased that by this time next month, we'll have some big news to talk about on the education front.
Absolutely. Transformative. I think, I don't want to steal the mayor's and the superintendent's thunder, but I think there's a chance to do something fundamentally different that aligns our resources and make sure every kid shows up kindergarten ready. And that'd be a heck of a start in cutting the future murder rate.
Y'all gonna need help moving? Me and John can show up on a Saturday.
You're hired. Two men and
2 men and a microphone right now. Yeah. Chris Meyer, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
It.
Absolutely. We got Your Money Now coming your way right now. Gonna check traffic, and then on the back end of that, let's talk about this the flurries of potential stays, appeals, filings. Will we see an execution in Louisiana today for the first time in well over a decade? We'll talk about it next, right here on Talk 107.3 FM. I wanted to laugh. The report that the thing you had texted me. I gotta find it. Kill the mics. it moves. But we're like very simpatico in how we think.
Right. Yeah, that was good. No cap.
What crap is that? .756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So the question remains, will the state see its first execution in well over a decade today? You're seeing numerous news outlets reporting on it, saying that as of now it's off, right? Execution of Jesse Hoffman put on hold. Judge Chip Moore in the 19th JDC issuing a temporary restraining order halting the execution pending a hearing. That hearing's coming up at 9:30 this morning. Dane Cialino, University of Loyola New Orleans law professor, says that tells our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network that this kind of maneuvering is not unusual.
This is fairly typical in death penalty cases, with lawyers bouncing from court to court and then up appeal chains, all in an effort to halt an execution.
Cialino says while this is it might be typical, the argument that Hoffman and his lawyers are making is not.
Whether or not the method of execution, nitrogen hypoxia, will somehow violate Mr. Hoffman's rights to religious freedom under both the First Amendment and the Preservation of Religious Freedom Act.
The religious freedom part of this, we'll get into it in just a second. I want to continue with the Cialino. He says, depending on what happens today in both Judge Moore's courtroom and at the U.S. Supreme Court, the execution, while looking like it's on hold right now, might still happen.
I think we can continue to see this throughout the day today as the execution hour approaches.
So 6 to 9 p.m., that's the window in which he's supposed to be executed, 6 to 9 p.m. Up in there somewhere. Moving from our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network over to WBRZ. Their most recent story on this is a judge has halted Tuesday's scheduled execution of a man who kidnapped, raped, and murdered a New Orleans advertising executive. Here we go. Saying the Buddhist inmate needed time to press his claim that his death by asphyxia could be torturous and impact his later rebirth. Judge Chip Moore of the 19th JDC set the hearing in papers filed Monday morning that, quote, breathing impure nitrogen would impact his ability to practice meditative breathing and cause him to panic instead. Quote, when I have a panic attack, I can't breathe, Hoffman wrote, much like his victim. He wrote that in a federal court hearing 2 weeks ago. Experts testified that inmates who don't breathe during nitrogen executions prolong their own suffering. Having a traumatic death can impact reincarnation, Hoffman's lawyers wrote. Mr. Hoffman sincerely believes that he must practice his Buddhist breathing exercises at the critical transition between life and death called the bardo. He believes that if he has traumatic final moments, they can negatively impact the bardo, which can lead to a negative rebirth. Now, I'm going to have to plead ignorance on this one because I don't know a whole lot about Buddhist breathing exercises. I do know that death does impact breathing, though. regardless of the manner of death. Let's talk over on Facebook Live. Hour 3 is coming up next.
Oh, hello, how you doing, sir? Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, there he is.
How the hell are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Great.
Are we back to it next Monday?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's I killed my. 8:06, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along, hour 3, coming your way. Right now, Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. We are starting off your third hour, a little bit warmer. And when I say a little bit, I mean a very little bit. We're only up to 48 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. On our way up to the, mid-70s today, upper 70s today? Oh, you heard the forecast from Emma Kate right there. You know where we're headed. Busy hour this hour. Coming up at 8:35, we've got Congressman Troy Carter joining us, a little DC Current presented by LABI. And coming up in our next segment, we've got interim mayor Dustin Yates from St. George and Norman Browning, who's been part of that movement since the beginning. Let's talk home rule charter. It's going to be on the ballot on March 29th. It's already on the ballot if you're taking advantage of early voting. So let's talk about it. What goes into it? What are the benefits? That's coming up in our next segment. Right now, though, right now is the time of the show where the folks at 5 Star Printing and Signs make sure that we take a look back at this day in history. All right, John, let's roll. What do we got?
All right, let's do that. Starting off in 1881, where Barnum and Bailey Circus, the traveling greatest show on earth, debuts in Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Yep. All right.
So, yeah.
So this day in 1881.
Yes.
All right. It would be, I guess it would be less than 100 years later that I would have a friend perform in that circus.
Come on.
No, one of my best friends in the world was a clown.
Really?
Seriously. Went to clown college and everything.
That's legit. Though.
Traveled with the circus.
Yeah,
he did.
That's insane.
He did.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
1940, Benito Mussolini and Adolf Hitler meet at Brenner Pass, where the Italian dictator agrees to join Germany's impending war effort in the West.
That had to be an interesting meeting.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Just who recruits Mussolini?
Right. Lame.
Yeah.
1942, U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signs Executive Order 9102, creating the War Relocation Authority, which was charged with overseeing the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Yeah, finally, you get to the lead of that sentence was the Japanese internment was the important part of that one.
Yes,
not our best day. Not our best day.
No, but worth mentioning.
Yeah, of course.
It's history.
It is. No, you have to mention it because it's history.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. 1965, Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov, I guess, Russian guy, leaves the spacecraft for 12 minutes and becomes the first person to conduct a spacewalk.
Really?
1965.
Where'd he go? Just cornering back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
1990 in the largest art heist in U.S. history.
Speaking of interesting conversations.
Yeah.
Who's on the spacecraft that says, you know what? I'm going outside. Conversely, who's on the spacecraft that doesn't say I'm going outside?
Yeah.
I mean,
You
you're
guys go
right
ahead of me.
there. Just go ahead.
You guys go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to see
I'm
what
gonna
happens.
go for a walk.
Yeah. Oh, man. 1990 in the largest art heist in U.S. history. 13 works of art worth over $500 million are stolen from the museum in Boston.
Really?
Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
Okay.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
1992, American businesswoman Leona Helmsley.
Yeah.
Sentenced to 4 years for tax evasion. She
Okay.
says, quote, "We don't pay taxes. Only the little people pay taxes."
She needed a better publicist.
It's funny that
I'm
it's
just
quoted. It's
no.
quoted there, too.
I remember the
Oh,
quote
man.
vividly. You need to hire somebody.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just in time for tax season.
Mhm.
Anything else on this day?
No, it's all birthdays for me.
All
and there's
right.
there's not that many birthdays, but go ahead.
Not that many, but we'll start with Grover Cleveland. How about that?
Yes, Grover Cleveland, born on this day in 1837.
We'll start there. Let's see. Anybody else on your end?
Oh, I got
tons.
Charlie
Pride. I got Mike Rowe. Let's see.
Queen Latifah,
Queen Latifah as well. I do.
Neville Chamberlain.
Yeah. Do we want to mention this guy, Adam Levine? Maroon 5?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course.
Of
Okay.
course, Adam Levine from Maroon 5. I mean, if I'm going to mention Queen Latifah, I think Adam Levine's got more top hits, right?
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Also born on this day in 1967, former Falcons wide receiver Andre Rison.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Moving on to deaths.
Yes, please.
Let's start with Johnny Appleseed, huh?
Why not? So it says he died on March 18th, 1845, question mark.
Yeah.
Like, how do they know the date, but not the year? We're certain he died on the 18th. We just don't know what year it was.
Also this day in 2017, Chuck Berry also as well.
I had him on my list. We missed one on the birthday side as Wilson.
We did.
Wilson Pickett.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're going to mention Adam Levine and we're going to mention Queen Latifah, we darn sure need to mention Wilson Pickett. You had Chuck Berry. I'm going to add one more to the list before we move on, and that would be Ivan the Terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Died on this day in 1584. What national day is it?
How about Global Recycling Day?
Why not?
Why?
Wedged right in between St. Patrick's Day and the Feast of St. Joseph.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? Recycle.
That's it.
We're at 812 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Before we take our next break, I do need to remind you about the folks over at Vex European, VEX. VexEuropean.com is the website celebrating their 10th anniversary. Vinny and his team have been taking care of your European vehicle for a decade now. Well, I should say they've been taking care of mine for a little over a year now. But this is what they do. It's the specialization. It's the making sure that if you drive a Mercedes, you're paired with a Mercedes tech. If you drive an Audi, you're paired with an Audi tech, a Land Rover, a BMW. You get the picture. In fact, if you want to get the full list of the vehicles that they service, it's at VexEuropean.com. Hit the little vehicles tab. You'll get the drop-down menu there. And while you're there, hit the specials tab. See if we can't save you $100 on your first visit to Vex European. As V as in Vinny, VexEuropean.com. All right. I'm moving over to 2. Oh. Been doing? My in-laws are the committee that runs it. So, hey, Ben Norman. Yeah, it has.
What do y'all go for the parade?
Was right. Wait, do what?
What do y'all go for the parade?
I'm in the parade.
Oh, you're in the parade.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, we go from Rummel all the way to.
Oh no, I know the route.
Yeah.
My mom, I grew up on the corner of Severn and 49th Street.
Oh, snap. That's
so
early in the route.
Early in the route.
Still sober.
It was a massive one this year because I know they rolled Argus.
August
before, huh?
10.
That's not the first time that's happened, I don't think. Is it?
That's what I was told. Now I know Zeus rolled that route separately. It wasn't along with St. Patrick's Day. But Zeus, for their 50th anniversary, rolled a separate parade down that route.
That's a good parade. That's a good route too.
Oh, I love the Metairie Road route. It's a real parade route. Veterans Boulevard is
I get it.
Sterile.
It's been years since I went to the St. Pat's parade there, but it's a neat parade. I enjoy it.
So yeah, it was started in the late 50s by my father-in-law's brother.
Really?
Wow.
New Orleans has about 150 different St. Patrick's Day organizations.
My God.
I mean, they're everywhere. The Irish Channel, French Quarter, then you have the Irish Italians, then you have just the Italians, then you have there's 2 different parades in Metairie. You got the Metairie Road one, and then you got the other Irish Italian one that rolls on veterans.
That's
I used to march. I did it for years. The Irish Channel one with that group. That's been run by the Burke family since the 1940s. Yeah. It's funny how these families get into it and they never get out. But the Burks family, when they used to have ward bosses in New Orleans, their dad was one of the last ward bosses in New Orleans in that area, and then they started that parade in 46, 47.
It's crazy. And then the thing is, like, so my in-laws are Kerrigan.
Oh.
Very Irish name.
Yeah.
Well, up until he passed, the guy who was running the St. Patrick's Committee His last name was Marchese.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really Irish. It's crazy. Like over time, it's kind of just become a synonymous with the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office. Like it's like
because Harry Lee.
yeah.
Yeah,
Harry Lee
when
for
I
the
was a
longest time,
kid,
yep.
Harry Lee was in it every. I mean, that's where you got
And now Cynthia.
that's where you got the fridge magnets.
I have every one of those. By
I have
the way.
them too. I don't have every one of them, but I have 4 or 5.
I have Fat Harry, I have Skinny Harry, I have Buddha Harry, and I have Cowboy Harry.
He was big, so he would ride. Then he got skinny, so he started walking.
Yeah.
Then he got big again. He had to start riding again.
Oh. 816, rolling over to 817 to talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, roll and ride along. If you're watching on Facebook Live, great reminiscent about St. Patrick's Day and some of the surrounding festivities. All right, it's back to business. Early voting is open right now. If you live within the city limits of St. George, you're going to have a home rule charter on your ballot. Joining us now to talk about this is interim mayor Dustin Yates, and we've got Norman Browning as well. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. How are you?
Yeah, doing great, Brian. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Norman, it's been forever, man.
It
When's the
has.
last time? Yeah, it's been.
Oh no, it's been years since
Yeah.
I've been on.
Well, I mean, you were part of the original movement for the Southeast East Baton Rouge Parish School District.
Correct.
Part of the OGs that were told in front of the state legislature, if you want a school district, you got to form a city. And well, fast forward by a decade, and here we are.
That's right. And you got that exactly right. This thing started almost 15 years ago, Brian. And there's a handful of citizens from the St. George area that just wanted a better school system for our children.
Mm-hmm. And still do.
Correct.
Still do for sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure there will be more on that in the coming months, if not years, to be sure. But right now we're looking at the city has been formed. Now it's time to put the rules in place. So let's talk about a home rule charter, what it is, what it does, and how we got to the draft that we have.
Sure. So early on, I believe in August, we appointed a home rule charter commission. So it was 11 people from across the city. There was a couple council people. Norman sat on there as well. One of the other founders of the city sat on it as well. And the remainder of the committee was really made up of just average citizens that really didn't really participate a whole lot in the beginning parts of St. George, but we felt it was important to get their point of view on what the plan of government should look like for St. George. So they were assembled. They met over a period of 3 months, and they came up with a finalized draft for our plan of government. Gave it to our council. It was approved. Went through the process through the bond commission, and now it's on the ballot.
And I think it's interesting to note with that commission, recognizing that I was the original founder, I was able to work and share with a diverse group of professionals.
Mm-hmm.
It was truly a diverse group with a lot of knowledge, professionals coming in together and having a lot of debate, so to speak, to build a great charter.
How I want to stick with, and I know this isn't about the next question isn't about the home rule charter itself, but it kind of gets a little bit more into the human side of this. Is when you bring those people together. Up until y'all became a city, there was this St. George versus Baton Rouge, and I know it's not St. George versus Baton Rouge, but you had a unified goal in front of you. Once you have St. George, there's the opportunity, or I should say, there's the door that opens. That the door is open to more division within. How have y'all managed handling division while keeping as close to a consensus as you can?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brian. It's difficult. I mean, I would just be honest with you. It's always difficult. Managing expectations is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
People have their own ideas and wants and needs and things like that. And, the beautiful thing that took place during the Home Rule Charter Commission, which was public meetings, it was open to the public. So it wasn't just the commission that got to participate in this process. It was other citizens of St. George that were also there,
right,
that were able to give their opinions and give their thoughts and give what they thought the direction should be. And all those things were taken into account, when this finalized document was made. So it's a process, and it's not all that uncommon to America. When America was formed and we went to the first constitutional convention as a country, you had the Federalists and you had the Anti-Federalists. The common enemy before that, was England, right?
Right. And that's exactly what I'm asking.
Yeah, and that's who we fought against. And then once that is over, it becomes, more of a process within now, right? And so you're always going to have opposing viewpoints, and,
Sure.
and there's nothing wrong with that. And we encourage healthy debate, and we want healthy debate throughout the entire process, not just the home rule charter process, but everything that we do.
All right, what's in it? I mean, the home rule charter, for lack of a better explanation, is your city's constitution. What's in it?
Yeah, so it's your basic plan of government. There's some things that will be included in the government that are codified through ordinance. The big ticket items on this particular plan of government includes the way that our government's set up with the balance of power between the mayor and the council. There's a city manager in there as well, which I know is something new. And anytime you propose something new to folks, they're always going to have questions, and some people are going to be opposed to it a lot of times because it is just simply new.
Yeah.
One of the things that I found very important in this charter is it took the ability not only to build the foundation for a prosperous growth for our city, but the way it set it up. And Dustin had talked about the checks and balances. If you truly look at the roles of the mayor and the expectations, the way this charter is set up for our mayor to go out and have the freedom to go and promote our city and develop our city. Okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, it was intended to have that city manager because we wanted an expert to run our city. We didn't want to take the chance of hopefully that we elected a mayor that had the ability to run that city. So now we have these positions that are set up so that we can succeed. We could have a functional and efficient government with a well-run city with someone who's qualified to run the city with a city manager. At the same time, you have that mayor who's out promoting the city, but also recognizes it's extremely important. The role of that mayor is to lead both that city manager and that council so that we can have success.
We got Norman Browning and Mayor Dustin Yates and interim Mayor Dustin Yates, and let's talk about the home rule charter for the city of St. George, which is on the ballot in early voting right now and on March 29th if you wait until election day. How important was it in drafting the home rule charter to make sure that there was an open-endedness to it? Y'all are a brand new city, so mistakes will be made. I mean, nobody bats 1,000. How important was it to build this thing out to where you could, adjust on the fly?
Sure. So, we've been very upfront about this, and the home rule charter was very upfront about this as well. There's no such thing as a perfect document.
Mhm.
And that's why you have to create a document very similar to our United States Constitution that has the ability to be amended.
Mhm.
The needs of our people will change, our community will change as we grow, and when we infuse a school system into our city. So the ability to amend it is paramount. It's the only home rule charter in the state of Louisiana that has an automatic trigger for mandatory reviews. And we felt that was a very important part to put in there because for the very reason that you said that, things are going to happen. We are going to get into this in a year or 2 or 3 years and come back and say, well, we thought that this one particular piece was going to work and it's not working the way that we need it to work. We need to look at amending it and changing it.
How are things been functioning now until you have a home rule charter? What rules have you been using thus far?
Yeah, I mean, but by law, you fall under the Larson Act. So the Larson Act is a document that was created in the late 1800s in Louisiana legislature to kind of give a framework of how a city would get up and going or how a city would be governed essentially. It's worked fine. What I always tell people is that you don't really ever in government we shouldn't necessarily always be focused on what we should be planning for today. We should be planning for what we think is going to be needed in the future, and that's what we believe that we have with this plan of government.
Norman, I want to go back to you for just a second because you made mention about the city manager,
right?
And I want to follow up on that because from what I've seen and what I've read, the biggest pushback on the home rule charter has been the price tag on the city manager. If I'm reading you right, basically what you're saying is you're going to get what you pay for. You want expert level.
Well, and that's correct in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, actually, it is correct totally, because what we've got to do, we want the ability to bring in someone that has that expertise to run our city, and because that manager is running the day-to-day operations, it's over our city employees. That city manager is handling our contracts. That city manager is putting together our budget, our annual budget. Okay. Now, I've heard it said, oh, yeah, but you can bring in a contract company and they'll have a project manager. Well, I'm sorry. I don't want a project manager from a contract company having that kind of control over our city.
Well, contracting out third party is great on a lower level. I mean, but once you get to, the buck stops with the mayor, and then the buck stops with the city manager right before the mayor. So there's a certain level of accountability that comes along with that.
Correct. And now the city council does have the ability to hire and fire that city manager.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there is that checks and balances there. What's nice about this is if we've got a city manager that's not capable of doing the job, not doing the job for whatever reason, we have the ability to move on and hire someone else.
Some finer points of the home rule charter. What don't we know about? We know governing document, it is the city's constitution. It's going to cover all the bigger points. But what are some of the finer points that went into or came out of those public meetings?
Yeah, I think a couple of the bigger points really that people aren't talking about is that in the charter, it prevents the city council now or the city council ever from putting the 7 mills of property tax on the residents without the voters of the residents. And a lot of people don't understand that every city in the state of Louisiana can levy 7 mills of property tax on their residents without a vote of the people. It's a simple council vote. So within that document itself, it actually prevents that from happening. The voters of St. George would have to vote to change the charter, okay, before that would even be possible. And we know in St. George that's probably not a realistic possibility. Yeah.
Probably not. I would think that would be a very a selling point for this home rule charter, to be able to say that, when it comes to taxation, y'all have your sales tax, but you're very keeping things very close to the vest on the rest of it.
Additionally, this charter expands the roles of the chief of police. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because no longer is it just the chief of police, it's chief of police public safety.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this chief of police roles expands to cover and to work with the liaisons with all our safety department entities, whether that's the fire, the sheriff, EMS. Okay. It's expanded role, and then plays a major role in cases of emergencies, hazardous or weather
Natural
emergencies.
disasters,
Right.
things like that.
We got a little bit over a minute left. I do want to close out by going back to taxation real quick, because that is going to be, I'm glad you brought that up, Dustin.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very important part of this is when it comes to changing and amending, do you have to go through amending the home rule charter for any form of taxation or just those 7 mills?
No, any form of taxation has to go through the home rule charter. It specifically states that any type of taxation would have to come through the, vote of the people, and in order to do that, you would have to amend the charter.
Closing thoughts before we get out of here.
Yes, I do. I think an important point that I want to make. What's happening with some of the opposition to the charter is they're lumping. People were upset with the salaries that were established for the mayor, the council, the chief of police.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a totally separate issue.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're upset with that, that's okay. We have an avenue to correct that through the next council. Don't throw out the charter, because the charter is a very good one. So we can't throw out the charter because you're upset with the salaries.
Right. Well, and yeah, the other part of that is, if you're thinking of the salaries, think of the entire office and not just the one person,
That is correct.
because that's where things really squeeze down. He is Dustin Yates. He is Norman Browning. Talk about the home rule charter that is going to be on your ballot on March 29th. Guys, thank y'all so much for a couple minutes.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Here's news.
Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. My pleasure. That's
I'm sorry. You probably had a better closing.
You good, buddy?
Saying, get those knuckleheads off. Brian, good to see you again.
Likewise. Separate topic. I was talking to Val about Colby Ministries.
Yes.
I need to get them at Mercy. Are you
Super.
involved with the ministry as well?
I'm not with the Kobe. I've had so much going on with this, and I'm very active in the acts right now. But definitely I can have him reach out.
Yeah, I got. So when we have our next, I'm on core at Mercy.
Okay.
And when we have our next meeting, I was trying to get Val out there, and he's doing formation for his next Colby, and my next guy was Scott Doherty over.
Yeah.
Well, he's on formation as well.
Yeah.
So I'm struggling looking for another Colby ministry person to come speak.
Oh yeah, they've got a couple of those guys that are very involved.
I know
they
I
can
can't
do it.
partake.
Like
in it
John
right now.
Wagner probably could do it.
Okay.
But actually, I've seen a lot of those. Normally on Tuesday mornings, we have a prayer group on
Awesome.
Tuesday mornings, and I just kind of wanted to do some reading before I got here, so I didn't make it. But and I would have seen a lot of it. Then I wouldn't have known anyway till afterwards. But yeah, I'll talk to Val.
I need to call him again, but yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Don't mind at all.
Yeah, it's not a ministry I can be a part of, but I know there's a lot of guys at Mercy that want in. So.
We've got our retreat, and Val's on the team with us, teaming for our retreat this weekend.
Are we all this weekend?
Yeah.
Where do y'all go?
Good to see you as well. Good day. Yes, sir.
Love it.
I've done Rosaryville.
I love it. I love
We
it.
did we missioned Immaculate Conception. It was out of Rosaryville. Okay. Mercy, we go to Solomon Center.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see you Monday, Dustin. Good luck, y'all.
All right.
Had to do a little of the Lord's work on the back end. You know, Colby Ministries is amazing. It's basically an in-prison ministry.
Oh, nice. That's good.
It's one of the reasons I have so much trouble balancing the death penalty.
Right.
Now, granted, most of those in Colby Ministries have not committed rape and murder.
Right.
Most of them are like, other offenses.
Or if they have, they're repentant of those things, right? They're trying to turn their life around.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fine line to walk, man. It's a fine line. On one hand, like, hey, right, like you believe in second chances, you believe in grace, mercy. On the other hand, it's like justice as well,
Right. But what is justice?
Right. Right. Exactly.
Ooh-wee. Patrick's going back to the Cassidy interview. He says if you wanted to embarrass him, you should have asked how it feels. I didn't want to embarrass him. I never want to embarrass somebody.
Yeah.
How it feels to be a doctor who will be removed from office by folks who think the COVID vaccine was never tested. Well, the COVID vaccine was tested in something called Operation Warp Speed. So yeah, questioning that vaccine, I don't think it was out of order to question that vaccine at all. I personally took the COVID vaccine because my doctor recommended it. But it's that to me, I don't think that would have embarrassed him. By the way, I'm not 100% sold that he's going to be ousted just yet. We're going to see another candidate get in this race, and that candidate's going to be very, very viable and very, very likable. I like if that other candidate doesn't get in, I think Cassidy would beat Fleming heads up. I really do. And I would be. It's going to be tough to stay on the sidelines for this one, but at the same time, though, I'm going to like at least two of the candidates in the race. I really, really have beef with somebody who ran for a statewide office just to launch running for another office. this spot by Moon saying journalists and elected officials in Congress are the dumbest group of people ever put together in the United States.
I mean,
I would advise Moon to give a really good look at the 92 Mets. Because when you really want incompetence, you're not going to find more incompetent than the 92 Mets.
why is that, bro?
They were awful. There was a book written about them, John. A book called The Worst Team Money Could Buy.
I know. We've discussed it. I think we discussed it here. We had a guest on that we discussed that.
Yeah.
Didn't we? Yeah.
All right, time to get a look at your forecast, and here's what we've got going on. High today of about 79 degrees. Overnight low gets down to 61. Tomorrow will top out at 80. Now, there is a chance you're going to see some light showers tomorrow. 40% chance of rain tomorrow. And as I'm scrolling through the hour by hour, it looks like that's going to be in the heart of morning drive. So you might have a wet drive into work in the morning. After that, it's going to cool off again. We're going to get down to 47 tomorrow night, only up to 67 on Thursday, down to 37 on Thursday night, and then back up into the 70s for Friday, back up into the 80s by Saturday. And oh, by the way, thunderstorms looking ahead to next week as well. Right now, we are sunny and 57 in downtown Baton Rouge. $8:37, rolling over to 8:38 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Don't forget, while we are counting down to women's basketball on Saturday night, LSU women's basketball Saturday night. Also, Coach Beth Torina and the Tigers hit the road for their first SEC road trip of the season when they face Georgia. First pitch Friday is 5 p.m., Saturday 1 p.m., Sunday 1 p.m. Your home for LSU softball is Talk 107.3 FM. All right, it's time for DC Current, presented by LABI. Hopping on the hotline right now, we have 2nd District Congressman Troy Carter with us. Congressman Carter, how are you, sir?
I am doing fine, sir. How are you today?
Doing very well as well. You back home right now?
I am. I've got a big town hall meeting tonight. One of a series that we'll be doing, that we have been doing, just another one in the shoot. We got one tonight at 5:30 at Dillard University to talk about Medicaid, and we have been having an outpouring of constituents, ironically and interesting, Republican and Democratic constituents of mine that are asking for a meeting to really talk about what's going on. People hear all the hurling around and talking heads, and depending on which station you listen to, you hear one account versus another. So tonight we're going to have an opportunity to hear from the people and talk about where we are and what are some of the proposed changes that are floating out there.
There are multiple conversations to be had on that front, because where we are versus where we quote unquote could be are two different places right now, and it makes it tough to give tangible answers to questions.
Yeah, it does, but the people deserve to have tangible answers. So
I don't know a good answer.
We'll have notable experts there. The former Secretary of Health for the state of Louisiana, Dr. Gee, will be on hand. Dr. Avegno with the City of New Orleans Health Department. We'll have a number of other healthcare providers who will talk about the pure statistics, the math. This won't be people's ideas or philosophies. This will be math. How many people are actually on Medicaid? Who are the types of people that are on Medicaid? 50% of children that are born in America are on some form of Medicaid. And so some things conjure up where you think Medicaid might be for one particular group or another particular group. I think most people will learn as we go through this exercise just how deep the effects and the impacts and the uses of Medicaid. For example, people who are in nursing homes. most of people who have aged parents, there's some form of Medicaid that's associated with that. 50% of children, 50% of children are on CHIP and have some form of Medicaid for their insurance. So the statistics bear out that these are very, very, very deep and delicate situations that we should be very mindful of as we wade into the discussions of. Listen, I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee that has oversight on any and everything healthcare. We've been given an edict to go and find $880 billion in cuts. I'll keep you posted as we go along that journey. It's going to be very difficult.
I can understand that, to be sure. We have Congressman Troy Carter with us as DC Current, presented by LABI. Since the last time we spoke, Congressman, you've been at work on, among other things, the Securing the City's Improvement Act. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Yes, very excited that this passed the House and expect to be passed the Senate soon and on its way to President Trump's desk for signature. This is a bipartisan Securing the City's Improvement Act, which passed the House. I'm proud to say it's a bill that has bipartisan support. Representative Clay Higgins is one of the sponsors, a leading sponsor with me on the bill. This bill would enhance Securing Cities program. You know, after what we saw on the New Year's Day with the coward who attacked America via New Orleans. What this bill does is it adds us to the list of those cities that would have enhanced protections from radiological and chemical threats. This gives the city of New Orleans another band of security. We're a small city relatively, but we host some of the biggest events and have some of the largest numbers of visitors to come to Louisiana and to New Orleans every single year. This would enhance the security of cities program. The program seeks to reduce the risk of terrorist attacks in high-risk cities like New Orleans. It helps cities build and maintain their security capabilities against nuclear, radiological, chemical, and biological threats. It is huge for New Orleans and for our state because along with this distinction, once signed into law, it brings a tremendous amount of resources in the way of protecting our city from terrorist attacks. We know that in this year, 2025, that terrorists are coming closer and closer to home, and even those people that have been radicalized with domestic terrorism. We can never let our guards down. We have to do everything in our power to be vigilant, to be ahead of the game, and protect ourselves. This bill will give us an opportunity to do just that.
Now, with this bill, neither you nor Congressman Higgins is pretending to be an expert in the field. You're piggybacking off of something that Homeland Security did back in 2007, correct?
That is exactly right. This is an expansion of a program that was in 2007, and quite frankly, it's us fighting to make sure that we don't have to recreate the wheel. When we see things that are out there, that's available, tools that are in the tool shed, we should fight to make sure that our jurisdictions have access to any and all available best practices and technologies. This is an example of that. But as you might imagine, everyone wants it, right?
Well, yeah.
But I'm proud to say New Orleans is going to get it.
Yes, being a host city, being a city that was born to host, this one, it feels like a no-brainer to me. Have you run into any opposition at all?
No. It came out of committee. It came out of committee with unanimous support. Now there were a lot of questions and there were a lot of tweaking and discussing. But I'm very proud to say that this was one that, as you said, is a no-brainer. We are a perfect fit for this kind of legislation. We're a perfect fit to have this happen. But like anything, we have to work together. And I'm very proud that this is yet another one of those examples that demonstrate just because we're RRD doesn't mean that we can't work together. We have to put aside that mantra and recognize the American people expect us to get things done.
Well, especially at a time where the pulse of DC right now is, all antennas are up on every dime worth of spending. And if you can get that level of support at when the, when the pulse is where it's at right now, that tells you it's worthwhile.
That's exactly right. And you know what? Listen, there's more opportunities like this than we care to admit. Unfortunately, talking heads on either side sometimes cloud the opportunity for us to work together and create this us against them mentality. And nobody wins in the us against mentality. We have to, we can have a whole nother discussion about the unelected billionaire who's having fun.
You're gonna walk us down at us against them with that one.
Yep. See, I'm gonna walk you down at the end to tease you for our next show.
We got a couple minutes left with Congressman Troy Carter. Let's talk about us and us on this one. Social Security Fairness Act gets a little retroactive.
Yeah, listen, this is another one of those examples proving that when we care to, we can work together. And I want to give kudos to former Congressman Garrett Graves, who really worked very hard even before I got to Congress on trying to advance this bill. I am so proud to have been an original co-author and joined with Congressman Graves and others to finally get this bill over the goal line. As someone who has been looking and working on this for many years, as I walk around and talk to people throughout the state, the whole Social Security Fairness and the web GPO and all the issues surrounding it and how it impacted negatively people who were federal state employees who were being penalized and not getting their full benefits. Well, I was happy to join with Congressman Graves and to, as the first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, work feverishly on the House floor to secure 60 plus votes to bring to the effort to force a vote through a petition, a discharge position that essentially forces a vote to the floor. We're successful in doing it. Then, of course, it passed, and it passed in the Senate, and President Biden signed it. And now, guess what? People have begun getting their checks. So this is government in action, and people, black, white, Republican, Democrat, police officers, school teachers, firefighters, people who have been negatively impacted by web GPO now are seeing through the Social Security Fairness Act checks in their mailboxes.
What?
This is not a gonna do. This is a promise made, promise kept.
Well, not just that, Congressman Carter, but I was talking with Sarah in your office, who deserves a raise, by the way. I was talking with Sarah in your office about how it's not just it picks up today. This is retroactive back to January of last year.
That's exactly right. So those are the checks that I'm referring to. Those are those retroactive checks that are coming in the mailboxes to people, and they vary depending on contributions made. But, listen, a check in the mail that you weren't necessarily expecting, but you certainly deserved, is always nice.
Oh, yeah.
And it's long overdue, and I'm very proud of the fact that this Social Security Fairness Act impacts every segment of our community, every party in our community, every race, every background, and even every socioeconomic background. This is one of those things that just made good sense to do. But for years and years and years, it never happened.
Yeah.
But it did this time, and I'm very proud of that.
He is Congressman Troy Carter, joins us about this time for DC Current, presented by LABI. Joins us about this time every week. Congressman Carter, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the time back home, sir.
Okay, brother. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Yep, we'll talk next week. Here's your money now. Did he just do a Donald Trump impression? No, you know how they're getting checks in the mail. Did I hear that right?
It might have been.
Facebook, did you hear that?
I kind of caught
They're
it
getting
too.
checks in the mail. Like, I think the congressman, the Democratic congressman from Louisiana's 2nd District, maybe slid into a little Trump right there.
Love it.
Tell me that didn't just happen.
Oh, it happened.
Can you grab it on a Sterlitz?
Yeah. You want to?
Yeah, I want to see in real time if that happened. They're getting checks in the mail. Oh, he's gonna hate me so much. Oh. Did you get that link I sent you? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I want to roll tape on it. Sarah text. She says I had a heart attack when you said my name on air. I so badly have to pee. Didn't hear. Oh, you didn't hear the Trump? Well, we're gonna see if it sounds like it before I do it on the air. Galen says, so did Biden and his predecessors use unelected consultants? The answer is yes. So, yeah, I did not want to go back down that path again because when he said an unelected billionaire, it took everything within me to say, you mean Anthony Fauci? That's that. I want to keep it on task. He did? Okay. Yeah. But he says it again in just a minute, like another couple seconds later. It says checks in the mail. You get an unexpected. I think I was making too much of it because the first one sounded like he did a one-word impression. All right, we're gonna run with the one-word impression. Yeah, I think he caught himself. I'm throwing away. Do I have a full minute here? That was gonna be an uncomfortable 4.5 minutes because I've been holding it since Cassidy. All right. 8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to everybody who's hopped on today. All the way back in the first hour, and we had Jeff Crouere on with us. Senator Bill Cassidy, who, man, I really appreciate that interview. Answered a very difficult question. And is it awkward to sit in the room and have a meeting with somebody you voted to impeach? We had Chris Meyer from the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, who's got nothing but good news working right now. Dustin Yates and Norman Browning talking about home rule charter for St. George, and then Congressman Troy Carter, who, hey, John, did the congressman slide into a Donald Trump impression?
It may have been. It was.
This is the weirdest thing to me. Like, I thought I heard it, but it was like a one-word impression.
Even going back and listening to it the second time, it was like, yeah, that may have been.
Well, you know how, okay, sometimes when you're around a big personality, and you don't have to agree with him, and this is not a political thing, but sometimes when you're around a big personality, some things just kind of rub off on you.
Right.
And Donald Trump has that where everybody has a Donald Trump impression now. And it wouldn't be unheard of to be, he's definitely in front of a microphone and a camera way more often than anybody else in America. So it wouldn't be unreasonable for the congressman to kind of maybe adapt or adopt an unintentional impression.
Could be.
I mean, all right, he was talking about getting Social Security checks in the mail. And I'm pretty sure when he said the word checks, he just did a one-word impression of the president. You have that?
I've got it.
Let's hear it.
People have begun getting their checks.
I think he did. I'm leaning towards yes. Let me hear it again.
People have begun getting their checks.
Really emphasize the checks.
Checks in the mail. Getting checks. What do you?
Their checks.
The thing is, it wasn't intentional.
No.
So that's where we're at socially right now in America. Everyone's got it. Everyone does it. Some people better than others.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be good. It's all about cadence and inflection. He just did that.
Getting their checks.
Are we making too much out of it? Probably. Hey, before we get out of here, I got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, flybtr.com, right here, our backyard. Wait, we got a great airport in our own backyard, y'all, with direct flights to D.C. every single day. It leaves in the 7 o'clock hour. It comes home every evening in the 6 o'clock hour. Get your business handled same day. Flybtr.com. And if you're planning your family vacation over the summer, flybtr.com. Give them a look. Take into account the entire package here, not just the ticket price, but parking, the drive time, all of it. Flybtr.com. All right, we're out of here. Moon's next.
Checks. So this is.
Oh, okay. Sadvocate says without a doubt. The greatest airports, believe me, folks. That's. I'm sorry. That was too good. I just flushed the outside and down. This is 2 nights in a row now. I've been balls tired, and I write the outside in at night because I can't go to bed until it's written. I fret about it and worry about it until it's done.
Oh, man.
There's a certain percentage of the show that has to be done before I can sleep, okay? When I go to bed the night before, the show is 85% done.
Right.
There's a little bit left open for the next day. But that segment I do every night. Sunday night, after day drinking and getting sunburned all day long, I wrote the outside in, and then I flushed it down the damn toilet yesterday to talk with Jeremy Terrio from Rev, and it was worthwhile. Today, last night, still tired from sunburn, still over, like you come back in it's the day after the parade that I'm really hurting.
Oh, yeah.
And powered through the outside in last night, flushed it down the damn toilet again, and it was worth it again. So worth checks. All right. Thank you all so much for having some fun with us. That's because honestly, that's what it's all about. Leave the anger to somebody else. We will see y'all tomorrow. We got Franz in tomorrow. We got Governor Jeff Landry in tomorrow. We got a whole lot coming your way.